So in addition to our mentoring and consulting programs, we also provide training. The purpose of training is to teach those underlying theory and principles with practices, actionable practices that people can use. And that's kind of why I do Scrum.org based training, because their philosophy around training is about understanding the core theory and principles. Like, here's the first principles of what it is we're trying to achieve. Then building on top of that, here's the thing, right? So you're learning the thing, and then what are the additional processes and practices, complementary processes and practices that we can use on top of that, to do more, to get the value out of it that people are expecting to get. And one of the main reasons I liked Scrum.org was because of that story, because of the community of trainers, the people that it gave me access to discuss and collaborate on how do we understand these things, how do we communicate these things, how do we enable them to be as effective as possible within organizations. Um, but the 2-day training format that was pre-pandemic was really good for the trainer, right? Because you fly in somewhere, you do 2 days training, and then you fly out. But not so good for the customer, because if you've got a bunch of people who are struggling to deliver value, right, in your organization, and you spend 2 days teaching them Scrum, where's the rest of that story, right? If they're still under pressure after that 2-day class, then how are they actually able to do anything, to action any of those things? And time goes by, and then they've forgotten most of what it is that they've learned. That's why I think they say only 10% of things you learn in that format are actually stick, right? So you put 20 people through the class, they all remember a different 10% of the course because it's what matters to them or impacts them. They maybe implement 2% of that, so you get a 2% net gain of knowledge from that 2-day class. But if we change that format up, this is why we've moved towards the immersive learning format, and incorporating it in that story as well into a bigger mentor program. Is that even if that 2% was all that was true, you're then 2% compounded over multiple sessions, right? So rather than having 2 full days, let's say we did 8 half days, right? So we've got 8 half days over a longer period of time. And even if we still got that 2% actionable change, we get 2% and then compound it with another 2% and then compound it with another 2%, because there's a gap in between and there's an assignment for people to go do inside the organization. But I believe that format is a heck of a lot more than remembering just the 10%, because we're only learning a couple of hours worth of stuff. We're not learning 16 hours worth of stuff, and then you have to try and remember a percentage of that 16 hours. We're remembering from that 2 hours worth of stuff that we've researched and talked about and collaborated on to understand that teaching part. And then they have to go and try and apply something in that context within their organization. And yes, everybody's still going to learn something different. People are all going to retain different things. But even if it was, again, just learning the 10%, it's 10% of 2 hours plus 10% of 2 hours plus 10% of 2 hours. So the end percentage for the same learning content is much more powerful, much more effective. It's like orders of magnitude more effective for organizations. And because they get the assignment to go try and do things within their organization, during that time, they've also provided actionable value for the organization. So think of it like that iterative process in Scrum, where we do a sprint and then we deliver a usable working product. we've got a learning exercise, and then at the end of that learning exercise, they go deliver usable working product within the organization. They just need to figure out what is the use. We give them an assignment, but it can be quite vague, right? We give them lots of different ways to resolve that assignment. They pick something, they try it in the organization, they've made a change. That change either was successful or it wasn't. It was either able to be implemented or it hit a roadblock. And then when we come back around, we're able to debrief that activity that they did. So they then get feedback and engagement, closing that feedback loop, right, on how, what did you manage to change? How effective was it in your organization? What roadblocks do you hit? How do you get past those roadblocks? What have other people tried? And even, especially when you put a big group through that within your organization, you even get cross-pollination and cross-learning, because one person or one group within the bigger group says we weren't able to do that because this doesn't work in our organization, and the other group's like, well, actually we were able to speak to this person and get this to happen, so we were able to do this, which got us halfway there. And that cross-pollination and learning is hugely important to that story. And it works great across organizations as well when you have multiple organizations participating. So that's moving towards that immersive format. So we kind of started in the 2-day format. We then moved into the 4 half-day format, then into the 8-week immersive format, and now moving into the kind of more mentor program, maybe over well, from 8 to 50 weeks, right, of that program, with sessions and workshops and different things going on. I think this is the game changer for organizations, because we're not just giving you the information, we're collaborating and working with you to help you implement it over a longer period of time.